Ladies and gentlemen, we are here today with the season finale, episode 9 of She-Hulk. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. My name is Anthony Salic. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button and drop down a comment down below of what you guys thought of this episode. So, here we go. Right off the bat, last week we were talking about how Jennifer Walters was going Hulk crazy and she was pretty much just going to cause damage across this little gala event. This week, we actually opened the episode with a throwback to the original 70s Hulk intro. For those of you who may not know, back in the 70s, there was a TV show about the Incredible Hulk. And the cool thing about it was because of the technology back then, they had to use a bodybuilder as the Hulk. So they used a bodybuilder and they covered him in green paint, and he was actually the Hulk. I forget his name, but he actually cameoed in an MCU movie before. But the opening of this episode actually starts off with a recreation of that, but this time with She-Hulk, and it was actually really, really cool. They even got a woman bodybuilder to sort of play the role of She-Hulk. So that was really, really cool that we got that. A nice little nod to what came before. And this episode, we open it up with Jen in the prison that we saw Emil Blonsky a few episodes back. And she's pretty much just like trying to get a plea deal or prove her innocence. We actually end up finding out that they do come to a plea deal. But the catch is that Jen will no longer be able to turn into the She-Hulk. Similar to how Abomination was in episode 3, Jen ends up getting an inhibitor chip, like an ankle chip or an ankle bracelet around her, which notifies the police whether or not she has transformed or not. And yeah, she pretty much lives her life sort of miserable. She got fired. She pretty much is out of work. And the thing that she's trying to do now is to prove her innocence, and that's to try to understand who Intelligentsia is. So fast forward a little bit later, and we see Jen at her house. She's with Nikki, and they're trying to figure out who the Intelligentsia people are. And what ends up happening is we kind of have a and B storyline real quick, in which Nikki and Pug end up infiltrating the Intelligentsia meeting, while Jen is trying to sort of take a mental break and decides to go to the Abomination place, the Abomination resort, if that's what you want to call it, to try to get a better mental health or mental stress-free place. So what ends up happening is we end up finding out that Todd is the Hulk King. He created this. Now, I wanted to talk about this, but I don't know. I'll talk about it a little bit now. This is going to be a long review. She-Hulk has been able to successfully counteract every single piece of criticism that has been thrown. Literally every single thing that this show has been criticized for in the past 8 weeks has all been able to be counteracted in this episode alone, which has not even, I don't even think any other Marvel project has just been able to like snap back at everything that has been thrown away. Like, I don't know, it like the only one that I can think of is maybe the Incredible Hulk, just because of how big of a redemption that movie has gotten. But what I mean by this, especially TV series, every single week we've sort of had like ups and downs with this show, and that has happened before with other shows. And I'm gonna talk a little bit more about this, but to give you an example, one of the things about WandaVision that was heavily criticized was just the amount of expectations that were caused, and then the amount of disappointment that was given. And that is something that She-Hulk was able to successfully prevent, and it's crazy. So we're gonna get into that later. So what ends up happening is Jennifer pretty much she goes to Emil's place. She's greeted by the Wrecker. By the way, we didn't even get a ending to that storyline. So, or well, we kind of did, but you know, the Wrecker's just there. He's fully rehabilitated. And Nikki and Pug end up going in. We end up finding out that there's this big group of people who hate She-Hulk. Again, it's a counter to everything that this show has been criticizing from the jump. Ever since this show was announced back in D23 2019, I believe it was, this show has been criticized. Oh, you're gonna make the Hulk a girl. Oh, there can't be a female version of Hulk. Who even wants this, right? And this group again sort of represents that Twitter outrage, because it mainly is Twitter, of all the people who've been hating and criticizing this show. Now, here's the thing: She-Hulk. I want to. I don't want to. I want to. There's so much I want to talk about because I want to say so much, but I'll save it for later. So, fast forward a bit. We get the confirmation that Todd is the Hulk King. And we end up pretty much finding out that they also hired Emil to do a public speaking as the Abomination. And Jen ends up finding this out. The A and B storyline comes together. And we get this big all-out battle. And throughout this, there's just new appearances everywhere. So we get Abomination in his Abomination form. We see that. We see Todd revealing that he has She-Hulk's blood. So he injects it in him to turn him into this Hulk-like being. So that's another thing. Bruce Banner literally just comes from the roof, just crashes down, and is like, and sees Emil sort of holding Jen, and he's like, "Hey, back away from my cousin, you asshole!" And he's charging in. Titania literally comes from out of nowhere and just starts fucking shit up. And throughout this, Jen is like, what the fuck is going on? Like, literally. Like, it was so many storylines. And again, I gotta give credit to where credit's due. I've been saying of how there's so much storylines between, like, Titania, the Hulk King, the Incredible Hulk himself, Abomination. And they knew that this was going to be a problem to where everything was going to be overfilling the entire show. This episode is only 30 minutes, so it makes sense that everything would just sort of overfill out of nowhere. So it finally gets to the point. Jen is like, what the fuck's going on? And then she looks at the camera. She's like, is this what you guys wanted? To see everything go to hell, go to shit. What ends up happening is the screen goes back to the Disney Plus menu, except this time Jen actually is like, wait, did you just go back? Did you just go back on the shit? And Jen ends up knocking her title card out, and she's looking at these other MCU projects. I mean, literally every other MCU project is on here, from like the Avengers movies to the Iron Man to the Captain Americas, to like the other Disney Plus shows. And she's like, what the fuck is going on? So she sees a assembled from Shang-Chi, which is the behind the scenes programming that in which they explain how they create these characters and the actors and the production behind it. She goes into the Shang-Chi one, and she literally appears in the Disney actual like studios, and she's walking around and she's trying to find out where the actual She-Hulk stuff is. So she ends up finding the She-Hulk. She pretty much bashes the writer's room, in which they were talking about all the crazy shit that had been going on. I don't know whether or not those are the actual writers. They're just supposed to represent them. Basically, long story short, they say the only way you're going to be able to change this is if you talk to Kevin. She-Hulk's like, all right, I'll go see Kevin. So she goes to the Marvel Studios, pretty much headquarters, and she goes to the receptionist. The receptionist actually makes her sign an NDA, which is kind of a joke of the fact that pretty much everything in Marvel Studios isn't talked about. Like, actors can't talk about stuff. Directors, writers, producers, everything is just shush, right? Which is why so many projects have always been under the works, or under like all the secrets have been hidden, like Avengers, Infinity War, Endgame, right? Spider-Man to a degree, except that might have been on Sony's part. So we get into it. She enters the room, and we get this like big TV part of like this big monitors showing off the different MCU movies and TV shows. Like, I saw. I don't know what I saw Thor Ragnarok. I saw the first Avengers. I saw like Captain America, the Winter Soldier, Age of Ultron. Again, so many Easter eggs, and out comes Kevin the Bot. It's not Kevin Feige, who is the president of Marvel Studios. It is Kevin a robot. So, it's weird. It's a robot, and it's pretty much the ultimate fourth wall breaking that anybody can ever do. To literally go to the guy or robot that's creating everything. It's very meta, and I'm gonna talk about maybe some of the negativities that this could bring on, but it was just insane how everything was being played out. So Jen talks to Kevin, and they actually do make. Oh my god, this was genius. She's in She-Hulk form. Kevin's like, "Yo, can you turn back to Jen?" And She-Hulk's like, "Why?" "Because you're fucking expensive." And again, it's like that's one of the things that was heavily criticized about this show was the goddamn CGI. And here we have a sort of counter argument to the reason why the CGI was so bad. It's because it's fucking expensive. So it's like it's really, really good. I fucking did enjoy this episode so much. But fast forward a bit, they're talking about all the storylines. Jen actually manages to change everything about the storyline. So she gets rid of Todd Hulk. You know, she gets rid of that. Emil ends up becoming normal. She gets Bruce there out of nowhere. She brings Daredevil in, which, you know, you can't hate because Daredevil's a fucking goat. And she pretty much makes everything normal again to a degree. Sorry about that. So she's talking with Kevin, and Kevin sort of explains what's going on. He talks about how the MCU is sort of this big universe with different storylines, and some of them aren't exactly the best, or some of them are you know, they're usually good, or some that are bad. He actually says we usually just leave it to the internet to decide whether or not what's good or not. And again, man, oh, I love that. It's fucking amazing how good that they handle this episode. God, it's like he's like, you know, we put out these projects, but it's usually the internet that decides which is good and bad, right? Like, oh my fucking god, dude, that's awesome. So finally, Jen actually makes a joke about, what about the X-Men? When can we see the X-Men? And then Kevin's like, I can't tell you nothing about that. Again, you know, we know we're going to be getting the X-Men sometime later. There's probably a bunch of Easter eggs that were in that. So Jen is like, all right, I'll see you later. They actually do make a joke about Hulk and his and what he was doing on Sakaar. And we end up finding out that Jen's like, save it for the movie. So there might be some confirmation about a movie anytime soon. Kevin's also like, see you on the big screen. Jen's like, really? And he's like, no, I'm actually lying. But it's so good, dude. It's so fucking good. So finally, we get to the end of it. She-Hulk's back in the normal MCU world. We're going to be talking about this in a little bit. She's there. She's like, what the hell happened? Daredevil just shows up out of nowhere. The ending, I gotta be honest, there is a little bit of negativity that I will say. Even though Jen did change the ending, I still felt like there was a lot that was kind of rushed towards. Like, they got through everything really, really quickly. Like, Todd ends up getting arrested. Blonsky ends up going back to jail for 10 more years. Hulk shows up later, and then Matt's just there just because Jen wanted her there, or wanted him there. So, finally, we get to the end. The big end finale. Jen is now with her family, eating for some food. Matt's actually there. Matt Murdock is there. He's not in costume. He's just Matt Murdock. And they're pretty much just having a nice lunch. And finally, they sort of tease Matt and sort of like, oh yeah, he's going to be in Hell's Kitchen. We know we're going to be seeing him in Daredevil Born Again. So that's good. Finally, we see the Hulk. And he's like, hey guys, what's up? Been in Sakaar. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce y'all to my son, Scar. For those of you who do not know what this means, in the World War Hulk storyline, Hulk had a kid. He had a wife too. The wife ends up dying. The kid ends up growing up to become Scar. And Hulk pretty much ends up fighting Scar. There's been times where they're either fighting each other or on good terms. Here, it seems like they're on good terms. But we got fucking Scar in the MCU. And this isn't no Professor Hulk. This is a Hulk Jr. This is a warrior. A fucking angry warrior. Right? But that's just a tease. There's probably going to be a movie on it. We'll see. The episode finally finishes with Jen returning back to her job as a lawyer, and a news anchor asks Jen if she's going to be dealing with criminals as She-Hulk or as Jennifer Walters. She's like, as both, motherfucker, just because I'm good. Just because I'm that good. And we end the episode off just like that. The post-credit scene is Emil in jail. Wong creates a portal. Emil's like, oh, were you in another show? Wong was like, yeah, it gets pretty packed in here, my boy. And we finally end it with Emil escaping with Wong to Karmatage. So Abomination is probably going to be in Karmatage for now. Whether or not we'll see him again, who knows. I was expecting a Thunderbolt setup, but we didn't get that, so we'll see. And that is the end of She-Hulk, ladies and gentlemen. So, that's not the end of this review, though. Don't click away now. Oh, I gotta get my thought process. Okay, this episode. First of all, what the fuck was this episode? Not in a bad way. It was just like what the literal fuck was this episode? They broke so many goddamn rules in terms of fourth wall breaking, rewriting the story, teasing so much. And it's like, I'm going to do a setup, a next video. I'm going to be doing a follow-up video, mainly talking about Kevin and Scar, because I think those things are insanely important to the future of the MCU. But my overall take is this. This is not my favorite MCU show. It's not. I think that there are episodes that are weak. There are episodes that are good. There are episodes that are amazing. There are episodes that are just flat out dog shit. I'm not a big fan of this show in terms of like some specific episodes. Some episodes I loved. I loved the first episode. Second episode was great. 8 and 9 were fucking amazing. Everything in the middle was kind of eh. But in terms of just like, I have nothing but absolute respect for the way that Marvel Studios handled this. Because we all fucking know that Phase 4 has been so diverse in terms of like the criticism that the MCU has suffered, right? Just about every project has received some sort of criticism in just Phase 4 alone. WandaVision, Falcon and Winter Soldier received criticism. Black Widow, What If, Eternals, Hawkeye, right? Like Miss Marvel, Multiverse of Madness, Thor Love and Thunder. Everything has just been flat out like criticized on. I like some of these projects. I also don't like some of these projects. Whatever, right? We're all humans. We're all entitled to our own opinion. But the fact that She-Hulk was able to literally counter argue every single fucking piece of criticism that this show was dealing with. I mean, it's something that like not even like The Boys or Invincible, which are two great comic book shows, have been able to do. It's not like The Boys has a scene in which Homelander tells all the angry parents who hate rated R content. He's like, oh, fuck y'all. We can do all the batshit crazy we want. No, they do their own thing. They take the criticism and they'll leave it at that, right? But when you have a show that goes against everything, that like literally is a show that almost seems impossible to pull off, it just makes it 10 times better when they're able to turn the tides around and just completely go up against the criticisms. It's done in a way that we've never really seen it before. In terms of fourth wall breaking, obviously Deadpool has done it, and he's gonna be doing it later. But they've never been able to like counteract every single piece of criticism ever. And I'm not saying that this automatically just like shuts down every single piece of criticism. Like, no, there's still those bad episodes. There is still bad CGI. There is still bad just like acting, and there's still like bad elements of the show. But the fact that they were able to actually stand up and actually like hold their own in terms of all of these criticisms, you gotta at least respect that. I'm not saying that the show is perfect. It isn't. It's probably one of the, for me at least, it's probably like one of the slowest making shows ever, or slow progress shows ever. But they're at least able to like, hey, stand up. We're not gonna take some of this criticism. We're gonna actually speak truthfully about some of this shit, and we're gonna just make some adjustments. And I love that. It was great. The finale I thought was great. It doesn't completely redeem the whole season. It doesn't. There are still some bad elements that I think that this show still has. But all in all, I really did appreciate what this show did. It was a great introduction to a character that I think is going to still be beloved. Either way, people hate him or love She-Hulk. I thought it was great. They did a great finale. Again, it doesn't redeem the other episodes, but it still does something that we have never seen before in any comic book movie. Like, not even Deadpool. Like, Deadpool did do some criticism counter arguments, but he didn't go to the extent that She-Hulk did. But all in all, this was a great episode. I really did love this episode just because of how fucking amazing it was. I gotta give this a 9.5 out of 10. It would be a 10 out of 10, but the ending did kind of feel a little bit rushed, but I think that sort of makes sense when you consider what She-Hulk was doing. 9 out of 10. Overall, the season. This is how I think of the season. I think the season is just a 7 out of 10. Again, I don't think that episode like 5, 6, or 7 are really good. Everything else is pretty decent or great or amazing. But I think that those episodes still hold it a little bit down. There are some things that weren't fully shown off or resolved. And I think that maybe it's because of some of the scheduling conflicts. Overall, the series was a 7 out of 10. It was good. It's fast pacing, so you can literally binge all of this within a night's within a couple of hours in the night. That's what I meant to say. But overall, 7 out of 10. I still okay, I'm going to be ranking some of these videos or this series soon. I'm going to be doing a follow-up video talking about the importance of Scar, Kevin, and my ranking of the Disney Plus shows. So I'll probably be doing that either later today or tomorrow. But because I still have a lot I want to talk about. But this is just a review. Overall, the episode, 9.5 out of 10. The actual series as a whole, 7 out of 10. Thought it was good. Anyways, guys, if you did enjoy this video, please be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. I will see you all next time. Oh, and they did actually another little joke before we head out. Jennifer or Kevin actually makes the joke that the people working on the show actually are working on another project. And She-Hulk's like, which one? It's like, oh, don't worry about it. And then you hear the Wakanda Forever music, which is cool. So we are going to be doing Wakanda Forever literally in like 3 weeks. Cannot wait. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Anthony Salic, and I will see you all next time. Peace.